Sogeri residents march against gender-based violence. Police make arrests after brutal Biruni Murders. And Biku Market opened at 14 Mile.
This is National EMTV News with Jeremy Mogi.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Mogi. Thanks for joining me for Monday's news. As the country rises against gender-based violence, the people of Sogeri in the Central Province also joined the call to end it. The Dawn March yesterday had men, women and children all participating in the walk. Organizers say it now gives them a platform to raise awareness on gender-based violence in their area.
Stop violence against women! Yes! When? No!
As early as 5 a.m. yesterday, people gathered at Sogeri Lookout to begin their walk to end gender-based violence. Women, children and men, all in black, participated in this call to end violence against men, women and children. Posters and pamphlets about gender-based violence were delivered to people as they walked and chanted our cry.
Say no to violence against women!
End it now!
End it now!
Say no to violence against women!
The walk ended at Sogeri Market, where awareness was conducted. An officer from CIMC, Charles Esihafo, says people should be educated on laws of gender-based violence.
It sets up a platform for raising awareness and knowledge building because, as we know, a lot of people are not equipped with this information. And one way to educate people is through awareness, so that people are aware of, the laws around family and sexual violence or gender-based violence and the process that are involved, service providers.
This march also provided an avenue for women and children to be made aware of the services available should they face violence in family. As Ihafo says, there are service providers like the Police Family Sexual Violence Unit available for people to seek assistance.
Was informing the public, especially survivors or victims of family and sexual violence, that we have services out there. We have service providers. We have focal points where they are able to access these services if they encounter violence.
To end violence in communities and to hold perpetrators accountable, women were also urged to step out and report cases. They say violence happens when people turn a blind eye on this issue.
I think, this is very vital for women, because if they do not step out and report this matter, violence still continues. So we are encouraging women that, to avoid violence, to make the perpetrators accountable. They need to report this matter.
The march was an initiative of Margaret Ufa, a local entrepreneur and her family, which aims to reduce violence in their community. She challenged locals to work together to end violence in their community.
Please, if we have to stop, you have to stop violence against women. And also, women out there, we need to stop violence against men and children as well. Yeah, please, we don't want to be victim of violence, and then we don't want our children to be affected as well.
Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
2 people have been arrested following the weekend murders in Baruni in Mosby. NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Pero Endrano said the 2 men were believed to have shot the 23-year-old victim from Goilala when he had attempted to carjack their vehicle. The death of the 23-year-old then led to a retaliation killing of a woman from Enga. It's believed due to existing conflicts between the 2 ethnic groups, the Enga community was targeted. Meanwhile, on Sunday, 3 other men from Goilala were slashed with bush knives after a fight broke out between the 2 groups again. In the meantime, Mr. Endrano is appealing to both sides to refrain from attacking each other while police investigations continue. 14 Mile's newest market was officially opened yesterday in a small ceremony. Member for Port Moresby South Justin Chichenko, NCD Governor Poilice Pakop and Kariku Hiri MP Peter Isoaimo were all present as guests for the opening. The market is the latest in a string of economic investments targeted at providing income opportunities for members of the community, as well as providing a safe environment to do business. That, according to Mosby South MP Justin Chichenko.
Now, here is going to be very popular because it's all organic grown. It's all freshly grown. There's no pesticides. There's no chemicals in all these fruit and veggies that they are selling, which is fantastic. Good for our health and great to eat. Nothing better than having fresh produce on the plate.
NCD Governor Poilice Pakop expressed similar sentiments, urging the community along the 14-mile area to safeguard the facility.
You may like come on up, you may must respect the master place. Or Koyari come, you may give him space no more. You may not dominate him place. You may must give him a place no more. As place you may do. Now you may all passenger line come, you may start there. MA blow you mean, city blow you mean. Together we build a greater future.
For Kariku Hiri MP Peter Isoaimo, the market represented another opportunity also for the people of his district, saying Kariku Hiri surrounded the National Capital District and providing services to such a vast electorate represented its own logistical challenges.
Total land area of well over 10,820 square kilometers. For an open member managing two district governments of Hiri District Administration and Kairuku District Administration, I have a handful already. So I am grateful indeed for this gift by people of NCD for use by our 14-mile ward area of Koyari LLG.
Named Biku or Banana, the market is situated alongside the 14-mile adventure park, with spacious parking offered in a sheltered area. Previously, most food selling had been done in small makeshift roadside stalls. Meanwhile, member for Mosby South and Housing Minister Justin Chichenko has hit back at Central Governor Robert Agarobe, saying the governor should be focusing on his electorate instead of the affairs of the nation's capital. This comes after calls had been made by Agarobe on the ownership of markets and land in NCD that he feels by rights should belong to the people of the central province. Chichenko, however, has said that with the size of the nation's capital and the multicultural identity it possesses, that it is only prudent to have it managed in the way it is. Chichenko making his stand at the recent opening of a food and vegetable market on the outskirts of Port Moresby City.
Well, I'd like to tell the Governor of Central Province that Koki Market is the property and under the ownership of the people of Mosby South. We look after the central people very, very well. It's a traditional trading route between the Wanigelas, the people of Mosby South, Abao people and Rigo people. And with the call of the Governor of Central Province saying he needs to take Koki Market back, for what? We're already providing the services. Governor, you concentrate on other projects in your Central Province. Don't waste your time on something that's already been created and done and working well for your people that Mosby South is doing for you. So keep away, concentrate on other projects and make it happen for your people of Central Province.
This is EMTV National News. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Welcome back. Deteriorating sections of the North Coast Road in East New Britain will undergo a major rehabilitation as the provincial government has given assurances to have the road fixed. The rehabilitation work comes following widespread criticism by locals in the area who are lashing out against the provincial government for not providing adequate road infrastructure in the area. The roadwork will cost the provincial government more than 900,000 kina, with the contract being awarded to Paddy and Kovek Limited. The North Coast Road remains a vital route for more than 50,000 people living in villages between Keravet and Rabaul town. Since 2015, The road has fallen into a state of disrepair following continuous flash floods prompted by torrential rain. 30 adult literacy students from the Ramu Seventh-day Adventist Church in Madang expressed so much joy in being able to read and write after 3 months of learning. What may seem as a small achievement is a huge milestone for both the students and the teachers who put in the time and effort. Literacy teacher Diru Bagoi said it's a challenge teaching adult literacy, but it's very rewarding seeing students read and write. Yesterday, the students graduated with certificates to celebrate this achievement.
3.5 months ago, these women could not read or write. Yesterday, they proudly displayed their stories written in their own handwritings at their adult literacy graduation in Ramu, Madang province. These 30 participants, 29 women and 1 man, have been undergoing adult literacy lessons for the past 3 months.
Mino sabe lo 1 plus something where A or B and mino sabe. Now I sabe or say me can spell him name blow me can write him name blow me. Na me can write him name blow beginning blow me too.
Mino sabe lo sound him letter. Mino sabe lo spell him name blow me spell him name blow me sound him letter. Na me can read.
They graduated with certificates to mark this milestone. Several participants are workers at the Ramu Agri Industries. One of them is Susan Solomon, who works as a cleaner.
Come inside the school me read him name blow me write him name blow me. School staff na me come in.
The literacy teacher, Mrs. Diru Bagoi, is employed by Ramu Agri Industries as a librarian and also served at the international school as a teacher's assistant. Her passion to teach literacy with the help of 3 other volunteer teachers resulted in these students learning to read and write.
I used to write their names and give out their handouts. But after completing 2 months, I don't need to write their names. They write their own names. We just give them tassel handouts and they write their own names. So I'm talking me or Sam, different something.
The program was conducted under the Adventist Literacy School with the support and approval of the Ramu Industries Management, with funding support from the Australian government through ADRA. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News.
The building housing the Department of Open and Distant Learning at the University of Technology was reopened by Chancellor Madame Jean Kekero last week. The building was burnt down in a student riot at the university in 2016 and was opened 4 years later. The new building has 2 floors, each with a conference room and ablution block. Upstairs houses office spaces for the administration personnel and downstairs for general inquiries. Head of the department, Dr. Fred Semogenyi, commended the team for their resilience in delivering despite working out of an old building structure. The Vice-Chancellor, Professor Ora Renagi, said the Department of Open and Distant Learning is the way forward in reaching the university's vision to expand programs.
We've been hopeful. I've inspired a sense of hope in my team, a sense of confidence in my team. No wonder we've been able to move from the forgotten corner down there underneath the electrical engineering department, and today we are observing a new product.
Now DODL is a number of centers around the country, and we want to be reaching the provinces and externalizing our programs to the centers in the provinces. And while we already have satellite campuses between provinces in our organization, DODL is the right channel through which there has to be this externalization reaching out to the provinces, because they already have centers placed around the country.
Owner of Pogra Mine, Barrick New Guinea Limited, has put to rest rumors that illegal miners gained entry to the mine last week. Barrick, in a statement, said the Pogra mine site is secured, although a group of people tried to gain entry to the mine site area on Thursday last week. The company reported that a group of people attempted to enter a part of the mine but were turned back by the mine security and police and have not returned to the area. The situation was diffused quickly and effectively by police, although the motive for the action taken by the people is not known. And now looking at the NAS Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2880 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina is buying $0.2805 US, $0.4003 Australian, $0.2416 euro, and 29.52 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower. Coffee, cocoa, and copra closed lower. Crude oil is trading lower. Palm oil and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 92.39 points higher. The ASX 200 is trading at 43.28 points lower. And the All Ordinaries is trading at 37.83 points lower. When we return, we bring you news making headlines overseas. Welcome back. Overseas now, and from tomorrow night, Australian soldiers will patrol the borders between Victoria and New South Wales. The big move follows another record rise in cases in Victoria.
On the front line of Australia's toughest COVID lockdown, police patrolling these public housing high-rises home to 3,000 residents and a raging outbreak.
Man, people are terrified. I mean, it's very hard to describe, they're traumatized.
It's feared the virus is spreading like wildfire, with more than 50 cases and climbing.
And those towers has a large concentration of people in a small area. They are vertical cruise ships in a way.
Locked down for at least 5 days.
I have 9 people who live in my home with a 3-bedroom apartment, so it is very confined in my home.
They're being delivered food, toys, medicine, even methadone for drug addicts, along with 2 weeks free rent and hardship cash.
We had calls on the VCOS line last night from people who are asking us how do they get baby formula, for example, so we know that people are scared.
Today, Victoria confirmed 127 new cases, the state's active total now 645, and 2 more deaths.
Sadly, it is my duty to inform you that a man in his 90s has passed away.
The rapid escalation forcing officials to shut the more than 1,000-kilometre border with New South Wales for the first time in 100 years. Troop and police reinforcements requested.
It's a very long border. Someone could choose to swim across the river, walk through the bush. There are dirt tracks. We'll be using drones and other aerial surveillance at the same time.
Those who cross the border face fines of $11,000 or 6 months jail. It just further delays the Trans-Tasman bubble.
The reason, of course, that we haven't seen progress on that is because Australia's status has changed. If they choose to move state by state, then that'll be a different story.
A new Ernst & Young report says if the border was open now, at least $2 billion would be injected into New Zealand's economy by Christmas. The health risks, though, still deemed too great.
An explosion of COVID-19 cases across the United States has spiked a dire warning from one of the worst affected states. Texas says it will run out of hospital beds in less than 2 weeks.
A sea of bodies celebrating Independence Day, social distancing ditched so they can party.
Alarming images from around the country of holiday weekend crowds with little regard for the pandemic.
A pandemic that was already raging out of control. 15 states seeing record case rises as America nears 130,000 deaths.
The overwhelming majority now of people getting infected are young people.
A dangerous new trend, university COVID parties, where they compete to see who can catch the virus first.
Kids are kids, and kids do stupid things.
In Texas, the health system is close to breaking point.
If we don't change the trajectory, then I am within 2 weeks of having our hospitals overrun. And in our ICUs, I could be 10 days away from that.
And doctors there say the new cases are now more severe.
The patients that we're seeing today, they are 10 times sicker than the patients that we saw, let's say, 8 weeks ago. And by the time they get here, they're almost dead.
Despite the numbers, despite the warnings, the president went golfing. His latest comments drawing accusations he's ignoring, even denying, the scale of his nation's COVID crisis.
Now we have tested almost 40 million people. By so doing, we show cases, 99% of which are totally harmless.
It makes me angry. You know, I understand he has a tough job, but it is dangerous not to be sending a clear message to Americans, to folks in my town.
The world's most powerful nation now appealing for powerful leadership.
Prince Andrew should be panicking, according to an accuser in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation. Epstein's former girlfriend will be in court this week, charged with recruiting underage girls for sexual abuse. And the woman who claims that they trafficked her to Prince Andrew has spoken out.
Of all Jeffrey Epstein's alleged victims, it's the claims of Virginia Roberts Giuffre that could see the biggest fallout. She says Epstein trafficked her, amongst others, to Prince Andrew, a claim he denies.
The third time that you were trafficked to him, were you alone with him?
No, there were a lot of younger girls with us, and it was very shocking.
The 60 Minutes interview, her first since the arrest of Epstein's alleged co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell.
I'm elated to know that she's where she belongs. Prince Andrew should be panicking at the moment because Ghislaine doesn't really care about anyone else but Ghislaine.
Will she answer questions about Prince Andrew? Will she answer questions about any other rich, powerful, famous men who may have been involved? Who's going to speak first?
The attorney for some of Epstein's alleged victims questioning whether Prince Andrew is ready to speak candidly.
My sense is that Prince Andrew is concerned that he is not going to be just a witness, that he could be a target for prosecution.
You've been on his private plane.
Yes.
You've been to stay on his private island.
Yes.
You've stayed at his home in Palm Beach.
Yes.
But given that he stayed at those properties, he has a lot to offer in terms of answers to questions about what was going on inside.
The Duke of York denies any involvement with the alleged sex trafficking ring, but still hasn't sat down for an interview with the FBI. Maxwell's arrest expected to add pressure.
Really hope she comes forward and says A, B, C, D, E was involved. There were so many women in Epstein's orbit that participated and benefited from Epstein's sickness. Ghislaine is the wicked one, and these women with her, they deserve the same punishment.
Jeffrey Epstein may be dead, but the fight for justice far from over. In New Zealand, fertility clinics across the country are seeing a notable rise in the number of babies being born via surrogate. High-profile cases and a law change that means same-sex couples can also adopt. More families in New Zealand are exploring surrogacies, but they still face hurdles after the babies are born.
Just having a bit of a swallow.
This 20-week ultrasound, the first time Tess Dunford has had a glimpse of her growing baby. A child only made possible through surrogacy.
To be able to have a baby, like, it's the most incredible gift that someone can give you.
So it's nice to be here and feel the bump and potentially feel some movement.
Complications from her first delivery saw Tess unable to carry more children.
We went through that grieving process of maybe this is just our family, which we would have been totally fine
okay
with,
yeah.
But we'd always thought of having more.
And then in came Rebecca Keel after seeing their tale on Instagram.
It's amazing. I can't wait. My motivator is kind of them getting the babies.
The country's largest fertility clinic says it has seen a recent rise in demand for surrogacy assistance.
Definitely in the last 3 to 5 years, we've seen a definite increase in the number of surrogacy cases, and it is difficult to say exactly why that is. We are seeing same-sex male couples since the adoption law changed, and they've been able to adopt babies.
High-profile cases have also helped boost awareness, but couples are still facing legal headaches post-birth. At the moment, a baby's birth certificate lists the surrogate mother and her partner as the legal guardians. The intending parents then have to go through the lengthy process of adopting their own baby.
Because that's a little hard for us to kind of swallow.
Having to adopt our own baby is pretty crazy. So yeah, like it just seems like a totally unnecessary step when it's biologically our child.
A petition was taken to Parliament last year urging the government to update the Adoption Act. But the Ministry of Health says no changes are on the radar for this year, though that means nothing to this one who'll be here by Christmas.
Coming back home, the impending closure of Porgera mine since negotiations went sour between the state and Porgera joint venture shareholders will see around 2,600 national staff out of jobs by the 27th of July. PNC party leader and former Prime Minister Peter O'Neill pointing fingers to the Marper government for mishandling the negotiations. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has stated he is unable to comment on the job losses due to a court order in place.
People's National Congress party leader Peter O'Neill says he has taken serious issue with what he states are false hope comments by James Marper to the workers, contractors and landowners of Porgera, whose lives have been ruined by the government's attempt to nationalise the mine. O'Neill said the people of Porgera, Enga and the nation were losing around 100 million kina each month because of Marper's miscalculated decision, while more than 2,600 PNG staff will lose their jobs. O'Neill suggesting that Marper posted on social media out of guilt and stating that the government has them covered if Barrack does not pay.
Porgera will, courts going on in as far as Porgera is concerned. I am bound by court order not to speak much, but we are working to have a dialogue on the site, on the margins of courthouse to ensure that Porgera mine is open again at the very earliest.
Prime Minister James Marper and Mining Minister Johnson Tuke have stated they would not comment on the current impending job loss of 2,600 nationals due to a court order taken out by Barrack when negotiations went sour for both parties. Porgera Joint Venture in a media statement stated that on Friday 26th of June would be the last payroll for the mine employees made redundant, and final entitlement payments are expected to be completed on the 27th of July 2020. Some 2,700 employees are expected to lose their jobs. Of that, 2,600 are nationals. Adelaide Sirks Kari, National, EMTV News.
Chukai Sports is next. Kilawani is at the sports desk.
Thank you, Jeremy. More news on the Intercity Cup and Warriors back in camp following their weekend win. Join me after the break.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. To NRL, the Warriors are in camp following their win over the weekend as players continue to handle off-field dramas. Owner Mark Robinson spoke his mind, revealing his intentions to cut some of his senior players. And for some of the players, that news is still sinking in.
Roughing up an old mate on Saturday and dreaming of running out himself come Friday.
I've been itching to get out there with the boys.
But as is so often the way for the Warriors, they haven't been allowed to focus solely on footy. After owner Mark Robinson's mid-season revelation, they're not planning on re-signing Blake Green or Gerard Beale after this season.
What sort of impact does that have on the group? Not gonna lie, it's not nice to read, but yeah, like I said before, it is what it is, and at the end of the day, he does own the club.
We're also still getting, paid to do our job, and our job is rugby league players at the moment. So we just got to do that each day, and try and just block out that outside noise.
Though in this case, the noise is inside the camp. Robinson joining them on the Central Coast for around a month.
Robbie's a good guy. I have no dramas with him, and I don't think that any of the team does. But yeah, we'll see if he addresses it in the next couple of days.
Hoping to move onwards and upwards after their gritty win over the Broncos, the lowly Titans are up next.
If we play good footy, I guess that keeps morale even higher. So I definitely think we can string a few wins together, and hopefully that can sort of kickstart our season.
They'll be boosted by Tavanga's potential return from injury. The utility hasn't played all season, rehabbing alongside good mate Nathaniel Roach.
Having so much experience in rehab, I've had times when it has just been me, and that's been pretty difficult. Having someone there, it's almost like that you got someone to get through it with.
And if there's anything this Warriors outfit knows about, it's helping each other through tough times.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
And welcome back. The new breeds of Kiwi motorsport stars have confirmed they are the real deal over the past 24 hours. 2 Kiwi teenagers also participated in the race.
It's a scene Kiwi motorsport is getting used to.
Liam Lawson wins for the first time in Formula 3.
Add into that the Red Bull junior driver in a Red Bull sponsored car scoring his debut win on the racetrack owned by the global drinks company.
I still couldn't really believe it, to be honest, because I didn't know if we were going to hold on, to be fair. So it was pretty cool to pull it off in the end.
Lawson was close to victory several times last year, however never took out a race. 2020 a new season and focus. Starting in 5th, he manoeuvred his way to the front on lap 7.
Lawson takes the lead.
It's incredible Lawson even made it to the start line. His departure from the UK was delayed due to 2 inconclusive COVID tests. He had to drive almost 20 hours to get to the Austrian event.
I've done about 6 or 7 of these tests now, because now that we're here, we have to get it done every 5 days. So, it's not a nice experience for sure.
Meanwhile, backing up from his podium finish in the first race of the revamped Formula 2 season, fellow Kiwi Marcus Armstrong also made an impressive start.
Look at the speed of Armstrong, brilliantly done to swoop past up into 3rd.
The 19-year-old getting the jump from 7th straight into contention, but 14 laps in.
What's happened to Armstrong? Marcus Armstrong going slowly.
Mechanical issues forcing the Kiwi out of the race. Completing New Zealand youth heroics this weekend in Austria, Levin's Gold Coast-based Jackson Evans leading all the way from lights to flag in the Porsche Super Cup.
A brilliant performance from Jackson Evans.
It's the 23-year-old's first ever win. The Porsche Junior amongst the new wave of rising motorsport talent.
And there we leave Trukai Sports Pardon. Jeremy will be back with the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region, Port Mosby, fine, tonight partly cloudy. Daru, windy and partly cloudy with rain drizzles at times. Kerema, mostly fine to partly cloudy. Alatau, cloudy with rain drizzles at times. Popondetta, a few rain showers and drizzles, then fine and a high of 29. Over to the Momase region. Leh, rain showers, cloudy and fine. Madang, mostly fine to partly cloudy weather. Wuet, few showers and drizzles, then partly cloudy. Vanimo, occasional rain showers and cloudy with a high of 29. Across to the New Guinea Islands in Lorengau, partly cloudy with morning thundery rain showers. Kavieng, thundery rain showers tonight, then fine cloudy morning. Kokopo and Rabaul, few rain showers tonight, then fine and cloudy. Kimbe and Buka, rain showers, drizzles tonight, then fine to partly cloudy in the morning. And finally in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, rain drizzles, then scattered morning fog. Goroka, Kondiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, rain drizzles tonight, then morning fog. Forecast for small crafts within the coastal waters of Papua New Guinea for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru, through Gulf of Papua to Yule Island to Hood Point to Samar Island, seas 2.0 to 3.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 2.0 to 3.0 meters. Waters of Samar Island to East Cape to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, with waters of Finschhafen through the Vitius Dampier Straits to Siasi Island to Long Island to Karkar Island to Manam, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 1.0 to 2.0 meters. Waters of Manam Island to Uak to Aitape to northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of West New Britain, seas 1.0 to 2.5 meters, and waters of New Island, East New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas: coral seas, seas rough to high seas with southeast winds at 25 to 33 knots with stronger gusts to 47 knots. Solomon seas, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 33 knots. Bismarck seas, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 33 knots. Pacific Ocean, seas slight with east to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Monday the 6th of July 2020. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant viewing. Good night.